Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be listening to us, we are happy that you are. Welcome to Geeks Who Like Sports, Episode 6. As always, I am Ray Carcel, joined across the country by my best buddy, Lee Elias. Lee, how is it going today?
It's going good, but I'm glad we can finally do a spoiler-ridden episode about Avengers Endgame, and we should probably start off by saying this. If you haven't seen Endgame yet, turn the episode off right now.
Yep.
Okay, even if you don't think you're going to see it, turn the episode off right now, because now it's going to make sense to you. This episode is full of spoilers. Full of spoilers. How many times do we have to say this? There's a lot of spoilers in today's episode. If you fast forwarded 15 seconds to the start right now, there's a lot of spoilers in this episode. So stop listening. Spoilers.
Yeah. Yes.
Today, if you haven't seen Endgame. But maybe you're listening to this 2 years after Endgame came out. I don't know why you're doing that. But if you are,
we still appreciate that you are.
We do, yeah. But if you haven't seen Endgame 2 years from now, there's spoilers in today's episode.
Yeah, I mean, well, Lee, I couldn't have said it better myself. This is our spoiler cast of Avengers Endgame, where we are going to do a deep dive. We are going to talk about a little about sports. We do have a mashup later on in the show, but this is going to be a geek heavier episode.
Yes, absolutely. As it should be.
It has been a big week for geekdom. And, I mean, of course, spearheaded by Avengers, we are now a week after it's released. $1.2 billion worldwide in its opening weekend.
And 4 days, double. We should note that it said opening weekend. That's 4 days to break the record for all-time income.
Yeah, I mean, it's fast. I mean, there's no reason why it can't break, like, Avatar's all-time record.
Yeah, it will.
And whatnot. Like, I mean, I hope it does, because Avatar sucked. But... unobtainium. Metaphor.
I get it. I mean, it's tough to get.
Yeah. Okay.
Vibranium was better.
Yes. But yeah. So I mean, Lee, where should we start? Because there is so much to dissect.
Well, let's start with the things that maybe like other geek podcasts and people aren't talking about. Like, the first thing I do want to say is extremely satisfying. I left it feeling very good. They completely accomplished their mission of making me feel with closure, feeling good. Didn't feel like what happens next, although we're thinking that. All right, we'll speculate on that a little bit, but it didn't leave like that. And again, we said this before. The last time I'm going to say it, this is a spoiler episode, so if you haven't seen it, I'm going to start talking about things that happen in the movie right now. So turn off the podcast. I don't know if they could have tied the bow any better. All right, the way that Iron Man was killed was perfect. It had to happen. Like a lot of people are upset that they had to kill Tony Stark, but it had to happen. It was the end of that arc. I don't think that's the last we'll see of him in other movies. All right, that's why Captain Marvel took place in the past, and that there's other characters that will be coming in with prequels. So I think we will see Iron Man again. I completely called what happened with Captain America. We've had several.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
yes, you did.
We've had several conversations off the podcast about. I believe that he would go back in time to spend his life with Peggy Carter, which I do want to get into because there's been a lot of backlash about that, and I don't get it. But overall, this movie had like 5 or 6 moments that were just unbelievable. When obviously the big ones when the portals open up and the entire Avengers cast comes out to Captain America, who finally said Avengers Assemble. To Mjolnir finally going to Captain America, which makes sense. Saw a great discussion today on whether, like, what made him worthy of the hammer. And someone made this really good point of in Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, when he picked it, it kind of slightly moved. That they made the suggestion of maybe he could pick it up then, but he just didn't want to kind of show them that yet.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I mean, that's he kind of. There is a chance that he wanted to keep that hidden, not show Thor up, kind of like not show up the whole team.
Makes him even more worthy of it.
Makes him more worthy. It also, of course, the point is also for that movie was to make it a big deal when Vision was able to pick up the hammer.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, a lot of jokes in that. So, just kind of a great job overall. I love that they killed Thanos. I should say
twice.
Yeah, I love that. I love that they did it early in the film, and then. The sidewinders of like a fat Thor was great and hilarious. And
yes, I have fat Thor bod. Yes,
fat Thor.
I'm no longer have dad bod. I have fat Thor bod.
I have Ant-Man bod, I guess. So, but it was just a nice twist. Like some people were upset about that. I'm like, there's nowhere else for his character to go. I mean, and that's what they had to do that to kind of reestablish Thor for the Phase 4 moving forward. But Yeah. So just going back real quick to the Captain America ending. So obviously, some liberties taken in this film with time travel, which again we can talk about that in a minute as well. But I didn't have a problem at all with him going back. The thing that people are fighting with that is like, what do we expect to believe that he went back in time and said nothing for his entire life? I was like, yes, I can completely see him doing that. I can completely see him going to Agent Carter, explaining the situation, and making sure that she understands we can never, ever, ever speak about this until the year 2024. You know, in which she's obviously not here, and his superhuman powers have kept him alive. I didn't expect him to be old. That is one thing, but I understand why they did it.
Right.
I expected him to be older, but not 100 whatever.
Right.
Yeah. But that's okay. I mean, they can play with that too. I mean, if they ever want to bring him back, which is not going to happen for a while. But when you look at the big three again, obviously they killed Iron Man. They did it honorably. They did it in a great way. Robert Downey Jr. went out perfectly. Captain America is now extremely old. He went back in time and lived his entire life. And Thor is fat and with the Asgardians of the galaxy as he moves forward into that kind of storyline, where his character will obviously find new challenges and new storylines. But when you look at the big three, I thought they handled it perfectly. I thought that I was very satisfied with the storylines, and I'm going to say this, I do not think that's the last we've seen of any of them, although you will never see Captain America and Iron Man in a starring role ever again.
No, they'll never be the centerpiece of anything going forward, but I mean, it's like you said, Lee, it was the culmination. I mean, it's an accomplishment in cinema. It's
massive.
I mean, it is a true comic book movie, right? This was a comic book event. This was something that took place over 22 chapters.
Yep.
Right?
This is something years, that took
Yeah, exactly. This is something it was episodic in a way and similar to a comic book. I mean, and in that sense, this is the purest comic book film we've probably had because in terms of channeling that medium into the big screen. We've had great comic book stories. Like I will still say The Dark Knight is probably a better self-contained overall movie than Avengers Endgame, but what Endgame did in terms of capping off the cinematic universe, in terms of what it led to, in terms of that epic battle, in terms of its moments, in terms of the heart, in terms of the emotional roller coaster it puts you on, I do not think that there is any other film that in franchise, I'll say, never any franchise that has ever been able to accomplish that, and I think that they should be commended and applauded and deserve. Take all my money. It's the Futurama meme.
Yeah.
Just take all my money, please. Take my money now.
Let's dive into this because you're making some really good points here. One is that you just made a big difference. The Batman trilogy is a story. It is a story of a character. This was a saga. All right, as it has been deemed the Infinity Saga. There is only one other geek property that is called a saga, which is Star Wars, and rightly so. All right, this has changed how things will be done. Star Wars is obviously going to take a step back and figure out what it's going to do after Episode 9 comes out, which is okay. And we talked about that last week. You should listen to that episode. Self-plug. But, when you look at Endgame, I do want to tap on this because I think it's easy for people to be like, of course it was great. It was always going to be great. That is 1,000,000% not true. Okay, they could have failed miserably with this had they not planned correctly. All right, do not think that they knew this was going to succeed. Like, it was well written, it was well done. But I was thinking this in the theater. There's that great scene at the end when it's the Avengers versus the Thanos army, and some of the shots in that scene, had there not been 22 films, would not have worked. I'll give you an example. There's a great scene where Valkyrie is flying through the skies on her Pegasus with all the other female superheroes, right?
Yeah.
That shot alone, which was phenomenal,
does
not work on its own 10 years ago. It'd be ridiculous, actually. That is the way, and not because they're women, I have to put that out there, just because like a woman on a horse with a flying horse, it's not believable.
You need to establish all these characters.
Yeah, and somehow Marvel has made it where that just completely works. And again, we talk about this all the time, the difference between DC and Marvel. DC is superheroes trying to become human, and Marvel is humans trying to become superheroes. And Marvel's universe has always mirrored our own universe more than DC, which is not a problem. It's just they're different universes.
No, it's true.
And this movie really, took it to the next level where none of this was believable, but we believed it. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I mean, so that scene, and then there's just so many scenes in this movie again that would be deemed ridiculous had they not done this building up, and that's the real accomplishment, is that they got everybody to invest in the characters, and to the saga, to the point that they could pull that off, and like that battle was the biggest cinematic battle I've ever seen. Somebody asked me about it. Yeah, somebody's like, "Was it as big as this?" I said, "I have never seen on film what I just saw."
Yeah. No, I mean it's. I mean, yes, of course, a lot of it is CG, but you had all those actors there.
Yeah.
On a giant green screen set. Like it just going back and forth. Everybody, the banter. Like, I mean, even in the midst of it all, Peter Parker introducing himself to Captain Marvel, and it's just like. It's like, I mean, it's just, it still had humor and heart while still in the midst of literally the universe hinged on, and it made you believe the stakes too.
Yeah,
it made you believe that, like, I mean, and it also goes back to the fact that they got Thanos right.
Yeah,
totally. You know, like completely. Like, I mean, the fact that. And let me go all the way back to the beginning. They established their rule. They did something that very quickly in the beginning that they had to. They established their rules of time travel.
Yeah.
They established their rules of alternate dimensions. So whether you're like, well, that's not true in this movie or this movie, and they even make fun of all the other time travel movies, which is hysterical. Like, they mentioned Back to the Future six times.
And we have to tap on that because they actually gave a homage to Back to the Future in this film that I don't think people realize. But go ahead.
Yes, but like. You know, they established their rules early to make it that so it could make it all made sense.
Yeah.
And like whatever their rules are, you have to respect that because
Absolutely.
that's the rules of their universe.
Yeah.
And
Well, look, anytime you're dealing with time travel, like this is one of those things where it's like, if you're a geek, like you got to be like, look, you have to take some liberties to make this work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I said, just for those of you who didn't, like, maybe haven't read about this, the time travel theory here is that when you go back in time and change something, it splinters off into an alternate reality, and so that your present cannot be affected by that reality. That was their explanation. So that is how that no matter what you do in the past, it doesn't affect who you are now. They did a B+ way of explaining this, but they did it on purpose because they didn't have to go into it. They didn't have the time to go into it. They just pretty much explained, like, this is how it works. Let's keep going. And we don't have to explain it in this movie. And I was fine with that. You have to suspend belief. Again, you can't complain about that and then be okay with Valkyrie on a Pegasus flying in a battle at the end. You can't have it both ways. All right, this is a very quick switch, but it's like in Game of Thrones. There was an episode last season where there was a dragon that was slain, and then all of a sudden the White Walkers pulled the dragon out of this ice puddle with these huge chains, and people were going nuts. Like, where did they get those chains? Are we supposed to just expect that they were walking around with chains? I don't know. There's dragons in the show. You know, it's not real.
Yeah.
All right? Yeah, that's what they were doing. They had chains. So you can't have that both ways. Although I don't have a problem with people kind of like diving into it and be like, hey, let's really discuss the time travel and how it works because there's some possibilities. Now, with time travel, I wanted to say this. In the movie, they very clearly make fun of Back to the Future 2 when Ant-Man's describing, like, oh, you know, we can't go back in time. We don't talk to our younger selves and we don't bet on sports. And they make the choice. Are you basing this off? That's not how it works. But the funny thing is, I'm not sure people realize this. The entire 2012 Battle of New York scene mimics Back to the Future 2. So, for example, when Tony Stark gets the Tesseract, he gets hit in the face by a door by Hulk, right? Which they take some time to build that scene, right?
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happens to Marty McFly in Back to the Future 2 when he gets the almanac. He gets hit in the door. You know, and then they have to go to an alternate 1985 in Back to the Future 2, and in this one they have to go to an alternate time. So
1970.
That entire scene actually mimics Back to the Future 2, which was them nodding their head to the film. And I have a feeling if I watch this again, I've only seen it once. I mean, I'm going to uncover more things. That's the other thing too. There's so much in this film that, I mean, and we've already seen a lot of the Easter eggs come out, like Howard the Duck is in the last.
I was just
scene.
about to say that.
Yeah, like, but I guarantee we haven't even scratched the surface. Like when I'm able to go scene by scene and go frame by frame of that last battle, I bet you there's people in there that we didn't even realize. I wouldn't be surprised if Stallone is in that shot. There's a lot of, there's got to be a lot of stuff going on there, and that's only on the Avengers side. I think there's stuff on too. Like I saw Proxima Midnight on Thanos' side. Finally, I was watching a replay of something. There's a lot of stuff going on in this film, And yeah, just rounding it out, because we could really talk about this the whole episode. It's just they did a phenomenal job. It was not an easy job to do. They pulled it off. The audience went home happy, even if they were crying. They went home happy, satisfied.
Yes.
And I want to make mention of this, for the listeners and to you, Ray. Like, name me a franchise that made you feel that way when you were this dedicated, because I can't tell you one franchise where like it ended like this, or a book ended, I'll say, instead of a chapter, and I went home, I was like, that was perfect. It hasn't happened. Like Lord of the Rings, the ending was too long. It was like, please just end already. I get it. I'm trying to think of great sagas. Like Back to the Future. We're talking about it ended great, but you kind of left with like, well, where did Doc go in the train time machine? Like, it's
right.
like, there's more, and then you spent it took me 20 years to realize there's not going to be a sequel.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think like, and then some franchises like Indiana Jones end well, and then they brought back Indiana Jones, and now we're all sitting here with, I know they're making another one, but
they have to now.
Yeah, there's no closure.
The last one.
So I can't think of another franchise that has tied the knot this perfectly. Keep in mind, and I say this all the time, the worst movie ranked by everybody in the Infinity Saga was Thor 2: The Dark World, which was not a bad movie.
No.
Okay? It's just not the best movie.
Right. It's just not the best especially compared to the standards they set. And I think that's, again, it goes back to the fact that this is very comic booky, where they put a bow on this, but they've also still left things open for this to continue in a natural way that makes sense. And like that, for Kevin Feige to say, yes, we're going to make this where it's like we're going to do sagas, we're going to do like huge story arcs. Now, the next one might not be as big. There's been rumors that they're going to try and do Secret Wars, which would be amazing, which could also be a way that you bring back Tony and Cap for a brief appearance, because you bring back an alternate reality one. But... they got so much right. And you mentioned again, it goes also back to the time travel scenes. They explain it several times with several different people in several different ways. Tony Stark explains it. Bruce Banner explains it, and then Banner explains it. Tilda Swinton explains it to Banner, which was a great scene.
Yeah, it was
one of my favorites, where she separates Banner and Hulk briefly. At least in his astral form, to talk to him about the timeline. I'm like, this is like my best. I get that it's just exposition, but this is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
It was great, and I love that they say like, Doctor Strange isn't even here yet, and she kind of knows the future. Like that. It was a good scene. That's the other thing. It was so great to see a lot of these characters again. From the 22 films, they just could not have done a better job. Here's the thing: Star Wars is probably going to mimic that in the ninth movie. They're going to bring back everybody, but
they're going to try.
Let's just shift it again, just so you get people know at home. Like we're being really we're praising this film pretty heavily, and I've had enough time and Ray's had enough time to kind of really think about it. I don't have anything bad to say about it. The characters were written well. I have nothing bad to say about this film. Usually about 2 weeks after I do, and I don't.
If I were to nitpick,
please.
my only thing was I hated how convenient it was to get Ant-Man back. Was that it was just a rat? Just a rat running across the device. I'm like, okay, I would have loved, and I pitched this to a few friends of mine.
Yeah.
Luis, played by Michael Pena, and his buddy, and the other Coneys. I would have loved if instead of them, because I'm imagining he got snapped out of existence like a lot of other people, which is why he wasn't there.
Yeah.
I would have rather have him stayed, went to get his van, him accidentally start fiddling with things, like
he came back.
And came back, but of course, then you would have had to explain why Michael Pena, Luis waited 5 years.
Well,
but
this is my guess. I bet you they did have a scene like that, and at some point in the writing process, they go, "We just have to get him out of there and have a rat walk across the top of the thing." So here's the thing: it's a good point. It was lazy writing, or you know what? It was convenient writing. I don't want to call it lazy. It was convenient.
Yeah.
But I think when you take a step back, it's okay, because there's an end that actually kind of plays into Doctor Strange's like 14,605,000 or something like that. Chances of this happening.
That's true.
Although I'm not taking that away from you. It's just I have a feeling that was a business decision of like, look, we just got to get him out of there. And how funny would it be if it was just a rat?
Yeah. Well, and again, and my other thing is, and we also talked about this a little bit too, is that the other idea would have been that you don't snap. Well, again, you get then the idea that the time lapse is a critical moment of this, but I think it would have been better had they not snapped Wasp out of existence. And like you lose Hank Pym, you lose his wife, you lose Michelle Pfeiffer, but like you still have the Janet Van Dyne, especially because one of the big complaints was for a lot of people was that they also, you haven't mentioned it yet, but they killed Black Widow too, in another absolutely great scene.
It was phenomenal, yeah.
But I know a lot of people who were mad because she was one of the few Avengers who really never had her arc. Although I'll disagree. I disagree. I mean, she's going to go back and they're going to do a prequel with her.
Yeah, they're going to give her. Look, at the time it came out, things have changed in society since the first Avengers movie came out. Right? I should say since Iron Man 2. And she will have her time in the sun. But like her character, that her whole character was based off that. I have to get the red ink off my ledger, and of course she saved Clinton, who had children. It would have not made sense for Hawkeye to kill himself, or Ronan, I should say, to kill himself at that point. Right. Although he tried to, obviously, but. That was the end of her storyline. And again, without Stark around, there's no purpose. There's no purpose for her character. So, a lot of this comes down to writing. Like a lot of characters in this had fulfilled their arc, and there was nowhere to go. You know what I mean? And that's why she was able to sacrifice herself. But that's how she redeemed her character. And again, to think that this is what I'm saying. The people that argue that, the alternative is that Ronan kills himself, Clint, Hawkeye. That does not make sense. His story is really just beginning now, if you think about it. Again, that scene was good. And last thought on that is, look, they had to kill some people.
For sure.
You had to lose some characters in this film, or else it would. I mean, I could make an argument that Iron Man shouldn't have been the only one who died in the last battle.
Yes, right? I agree. There actually could have been more deaths. They actually could have culled her a little bit more. It's impressive that they didn't.
Yeah,
because that means they have plans for all these people. Yeah. Including Smart Hulk. I'm very excited about that.
Yes, and like I said, I'm so happy. If you want to see characters you love die, watch Game of Thrones. But before we transition, we're going to spend some more time on this today, just an extra few minutes because of the severity of this film. But a Smart Hulk who probably should have been gray, but we'll talk about that later. But Smart Hulk was a great character change. Totally sets him up for a trilogy that he's going to be in.
Yes, give us the leader. Finally, please give us the leader.
Yes, and like I said, now we're going to shift focus towards what's going to happen, and we'll spend a little bit of time on this. But just some things that you should know that in Spider-Man Far From Home, we know that takes place after Endgame. We know that it has been confirmed that Spider-Man and all his closest friends, so Mary Jane,
they were all snapped.
They were all snapped out of existence. So now he's dealing with this reality where half of his friends have graduated from high school and are 5 years older. And half of, not friends, just half of the people he went to high school with, and then the other half are back in high school 5 years later. Right. So we talked about this before in another episode, but now the appearance of Mysterio and everybody gets very, very intriguing, okay? Because now everyone's dealt with the snapshot or decimation.
Yeah.
And that could spawn some people into existence and create some incredible storylines of people that we can't let this happen again, or maybe something happened during the decimation that allowed them to do this.
Or broke these people and made them turn to like what they now are becoming.
Yeah, it's funny because Marvel, like here's somebody brought this up. What happens to the people that were snapped, were gone 5 years, and their loved ones moved on, got married, and had kids with other people, and they come back to nothing.
Yeah,
there's a lot. Marvel kind of gave itself a gift of like, oh, we can do all this. Everybody could be upset about it.
Yeah, I mean and you get the hint of that, right? When you get Ant-Man seeing his daughter,
exactly.
She goes from being like 10 to 15,
young to a late teen,
Yeah, exactly. So and it's he realizes he missed a huge chunk of her life.
Yeah.
And like it's both a beautiful moment because her daughter, that you see this girl get her dad back.
Yeah.
But it's also heartbreaking because you realize as a dad what he's lost.
Oh yeah. Well, as a father, that scene was actually impactful to me. And the other thing too is like nobody talked about this. That's one of the things here that's unfair is that he can't go back and get her younger now. Like it's gone.
No,
he's lost the time. That's one of the tragedies of the film that really wasn't discussed. But I expect Marvel now to open up on Phase 4 soon and really announce a lot more movies. We know that the Eternals is something that's going to happen.
Yep.
That's going to really open up, I should say, the space. I almost said Space Force, but it's going to really open up the space side of the storyline.
Yeah. Well, and that's something too. Is that again? We've mentioned this on previous episodes. I think this is now where you can reintroduce the Fantastic Four.
Yes, absolutely.
You have as space. You have them as space explorers. now going out there to be like, well, what else is out there? We have Captain Marvel and the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thanos, and you send these 4 people out. They get hit by the cosmic rays. They become the Fantastic Four. You introduce people like the Silver Surfer, Galactus, Doctor Doom.
Galactus needs to come back. Yeah.
If you're doing the Eternals, you have to. You got to give me a Galactus.
Yeah. Well, you have to establish the next super villain. And so again, with this, I do want to talk about Captain Marvel in a minute, but you also have the TV shows. Which is as I'm calling it, Captain America and the Winter Soldier now. But it's Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I'm gonna guess is the story of those two adopting the Captain America role. Specifically Falcon, who's given the shield at the end of the movie, which I loved. I loved that they did that on so many levels, a societal level, a comic book level. It was just the right thing to do at the right time. And then you also have WandaVision, which takes place in the 1950s, which I have just a gigantic question mark over right now. No idea what that's going to be about. And I don't even want to speculate on that because I have no idea. All I know is that I've been told it takes place in the 50s and it's called WandaVision as one word. So I have no idea where to go with that. And then obviously they've announced Spider-Man. We know about the Eternals. We know about there's a Hulk trilogy coming. We know that there's a Black Widow trilogy or a Black Widow film. Coming,
prequel,
and then obviously Guardians 3 is coming, and then there'll be another Captain Marvel. There's at least 5 more years.
We know there's a Doctor Strange sequel coming. We know there's a Black Panther sequel coming.
Absolutely. So you're looking at 5 years right there of the next phase.
Oh yeah,
and there'll be another Avengers movie too.
For sure. Where everybody. Oh yeah, because they are going to bring back. They can very easily have somebody else take up the mantle of Iron Man.
Yeah,
like they could have his daughter. They could do the whole Ironheart thing. Like you can have somebody else, or the kid
Pepper.
from
they gave Pepper,
or you could have the kid from Iron Man 3 try and take on the mantle.
That was convenient, right? That they put him at Tony's funeral, which made a lot of sense. Even though everyone in the world went for 1 second, who the hell is that?
You definitely did a double take, like because you're like, oh
yeah, of course he's like 10 years older. Of course we all did it, but it's him. It's for those of you who haven't figured that out yet. The unknown person at Tony's funeral was the kid from Iron Man 3. Again, another movie that doesn't. It was not horrible. People gave it so much crap. I didn't mind that movie. There's not enough Iron Man in it. There's like 55 Iron Men in that movie. Well, I didn't have a problem with that movie. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't bad. Anyway, I do want to talk about Captain Marvel too, because I heard a lot of people were upset that she wasn't in the movie a lot, and there's some dynamic things about her character that I think are missed. One is that she should not have been in the movie a lot because she's only had one movie, and she's not established enough where she needs to do it. She did her job. She kind of saved the day, or she turned the tide like Thor did. That was her job in that movie. The thing about Captain Marvel that I really like is she kind of clearly states multiple times, I am not here for Earth.
Yeah.
My power, I'm here for everyone outside of Earth. She had that great line, there's a lot of other planets that need help, and they don't have the Avengers. Yeah. That's her purpose, right?
Exactly. And that one line explained everything. I mean, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, exactly. That makes perfect sense. Because, she's right. She's the universe's superhero, right? Like, I mean, that's the thing where it's like she's out there, and that's why she's gone most of the movie.
Yes.
Because she's out there helping everybody deal with the snap. Because, when a lot of planets that lose half their population, well, guess what? They're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
You know?
And they don't have the Avengers. Yeah.
So
I love that. I love that explanation. It creates a higher purpose for her. It also reminds people Earth is not the only, or Terra is not the only place in the entire Marvel universe that exists, and they're about to really open up the Marvel universe, so they needed to establish that.
Again, it goes back to exactly that they're going to. This gives them another opportunity to show different things out in the Marvel universe, different beings, and I mean, they could get real crazy. I mean, we could get some like in-betweeners. I mean, we can get you can go a lot of places. And also, I marked that so I can bleep it later. But we try and keep it clean here. But I mean, I mean, there's so much you can do. Also, I just thought going back. I don't want to go back too much. In terms of Smart Hulk, they could do Red Hulk. They could do Red Hulk now.
They could do a lot. Here's the thing: is Hulk failed so many times, and they realized that like if we just give him like 6 or 7 years of character development slowly, he might have a place. And they've created a version of the Hulk that we all buy into now, which we would not have bought into originally, and they can do a lot with it now. Here's one for the far future. By far future, I mean the next 10 years, which we will get. I'm actually going to make a broad proclamation here. We will see Hulk fight Wolverine at some point.
Yes. Actually, that could happen because, I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, like, I think this is what I think. I think we're going to get Fantastic Four before X-Men, but we will get X-Men sooner. I think sooner than you think.
I think we'll get characters. I don't know if we'll get I think we'll get Wolverine first.
We won't get the Xavier Institute of Higher Learning necessarily, but we'll get. That's phase 9. No. Yes, exactly.
They don't have to rush that. Like I said it before. I think you need minimum of 2 years, probably 3 years after Dark Phoenix comes out to kind of let that live a little bit. But keep in mind we are almost 3 years away from Logan. So like that's why I said, because Wolverine of his powers, you can bring him at any time, and just kind of establish that, and the X-Men can come after that. But we'll see what they do. I know they're excited to do that. I know that everyone involved in that universe has said they really want to work with Wolverine. They want to work Wolverine into the storyline and have him in the Avengers at some point. So I believe we'll see that. So here's the deal. We spent about a half an hour on this, which I don't regret in one bit.
No. But we needed to. But we do. I agree. We do need to move on.
So just two more quick geek things before we get into our sports topic. One is that Game of Thrones, real quickly, had its third episode this past week, Battle for Winterfell. It was phenomenal. It was everything you wanted to be outside the color correction in the episode. It was very dark, which everyone's complaining about. HBO came out and said, well, people don't know how to use their TVs. It's not our job to fix our TVs to watch your show. You need to make the show brighter, or at least give us something. You could have came out before and said you can adjust your TV, but don't blame the viewers because of that. But again, spoiler alert, great battle. Some beloved characters died. Nobody really super major died. In the episode, but I give them a lot of credit for killing the Night King in this episode, because it opens up the final 3 episodes for kind of like the full storyline of Game of Thrones, which we've been watching, which is a real gutsy move because they had been building towards this Night King character as the ultimate ending, and they've just kind of finished that storyline, although I do think it's going to come back. But I just wanted to give HBO and Game of Thrones props on a very good cinematic battle, not as big as the Avengers Endgame battle, but still a really good episode. I watched it multiple times, and it was well done. The other thing we have to talk about, Ray.
Yes. Well, first, I just want to really quickly touch on
please. I apologize.
Game of Thrones. I actually watched it. It's the first episode I've watched of Game of Thrones.
What?
It's like it's like reading the last 4 pages of a book. But you know what? I agree with you. I think it was, even for somebody who knew very little of the characters just from osmosis through geekdom. It was satisfying. It was I'll say this. It was a great zombie movie, basically. Like, I mean, it was an hour and a half of like zombies. Like, it was like if World War Z was more of like this.
World War
I think
G.
that, I think it would have been a bigger hit. But
here's what I'll tell you, Ray. Because again, for those of you listening, Ray doesn't watch the show. He did watch this episode. What's cool is this: if you went back and watched the whole show right now, the way they just did this, it actually wouldn't ruin the show for you. There's like this overlying plot that you kind of know how it ends, or you think you know how it ends. We all think we know how it ends. But I don't think this actually didn't ruin the show for you, believe it or not. Where you're saying it gives you the last 4 pages, but it just gives you the last 4 pages on that story. The world is a lot larger than that. And again, I don't think that story is over. I have a feeling there's going to be a twist with that, but we'll talk about that in a future episode. The other thing we have to talk about, because there was a major wronging in the geek universe, Ray, that might become right. But the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer dropped.
Yes.
It really dropped this week. And it was horrendous. It was horrible. The character looked horrible.
The character looked terrible. We are all in agreement on that.
I did not really, was not super impressed with Jim Carrey's character. It looked like we were back in the 90s, which I understand why Sega is doing that because of the audience. But the character looked horrendous. The trailer was not good. It did not make me want to watch it at all. The only saving grace is that the producers and directors of the movie came out and said, listen, we've heard you. We are going to reanimate Sonic to look more traditional to the video game, which no shit. I'll say it now. All right, like I can't believe that they. I mean, how many? This is what I said to somebody last night, Ray. I got. How many examples have we had in the last 20 years of geek movies that stray away from something like that, the canon or the look of something, and fail? We knew this was going to fail.
Yeah,
we knew it. We talked about this months ago when the posters came out. We knew that wasn't going to work.
Yeah,
but I give them credit for taking a step back and doing that.
Yes, the movie's not due out until November. They have time.
Yeah,
I love that they said hashtag gotta fix fast, as in gotta go fast. Obviously, yeah, I know, but it
gotta fix it. They need the time stone to go back in time and realize how stupid this was.
Yeah. And I was talking to a marketing PR friend of mine. They probably haven't put a lot of this stuff into merchandising yet, so they won't lose money there. They have enough time. They probably just before the wire before they could greenlight everything.
Yeah.
But although I'm sure you'll probably get some knockoffs that look like the original.
Here's what I think. I think they've actually been planning for this. I think they knew that this wasn't going to work, and they probably had an alternate Sonic built out already,
ready to go. Hopefully. Yeah. I will disagree with you on Robotnik.
I didn't hate him. It just didn't do anything for me yet.
For me, it reminded me of Jim Carrey in what I consider his comedic prime.
Sure.
Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, The Mask.
Yeah.
I think that it feels like he had a lot of fun with this role, and it comes across. I think that, and especially at the end, which, by the way, I think the end of the trailer might have also spoiled the end of the movie.
Of course it did. That's what I'm trying to say.
Where it looks like they, where they looks like they all end up back in Mobius or possibly Angel Island, back in Sonic's world, basically, where Robotnik doesn't have any more mustache curling gel, and he gets maybe bald from an explosion or something.
Yeah.
And he's obviously in a foreign world.
Looks like Dr. Robotnik. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just I don't know, man.
But I'm excited to see Jim Carrey in that role. I'm excited to see Jim Carrey do that.
Look, I love Jim Carrey. Yes. I love him. I really mean that. I've always loved him. He's kind of gone through his crazy years the last few years. But I'm just saying, I'm very worried that they spoiled some of the best parts of this movie in the trailer. I'm very worried that the jokes were okay. This movie is 20 years late, and they need to know. They have to know that it's 20 years late. All right. So, again, I got a little bit of hope when they said, okay, we're going to go back and change this. Okay, good. All right. That takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of guts to say, we made a mistake and we're going to try and change it. It's mind-boggling to me, Ray, that in this day and age,
people are still making these mistakes.
Yeah, after what we just witnessed with Marvel. I was talking with a friend the other day about how, for those of you who don't know, in Rogue One, Star Wars Rogue One, if you haven't seen that, spoilers, at the end of that movie, there's this great scene with Darth Vader where he kind of murders everyone to chase down Princess Leia, which was really the defining moment of the movie.
Yeah.
And I found out
what it was building towards.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I found out they added that at the last possible second. That was not in the original movie.
Oh, right? Wow.
Now they did change a lot about the end of this movie in the making of it. I know because test audiences didn't like the original ending, which is fine. All right, because I think in the original ending, they kind of kill everyone at once, and it was too much for the audience to take. Mm-hmm. So they kind of killed them off one at a time. But they added that in at the end, and it blew my mind. That how do the people not know that had to happen? You and I don't know if you remember this. We spoke before that movie came out. I talked about how Vader needs to become murderous again. Vader needs to become the bad guy that he is, not the whiny Anakin, but the Lord of the Sith.
Yeah.
The evil villain that he was. And they did that. And I'm thinking, you didn't know to do this when you were filming? Now, thank goodness they did. All right, they did it. They figured it out. Okay, I'm not upset about that. But it's the same thing. How did you not know that Sonic looking like that was not going to piss us off? The movie is targeted towards you and me. People between 25 and 40 that played this game religiously in the mid-'90s, right? Mm-hmm. And then you know what they did? They said, "Oh, target towards kids today." Well, kids don't know Sonic like that, and Sonic still doesn't look like that today.
Yeah,
right? They even made a game where Sonic of today meets the Sonic of the past, and people loved it.
Yes, and neither one of them look like the Sonic in the movie.
Yeah. So I just, that's the type of stuff that makes me kind of get angry at Hollywood sometimes, where it's guys, come on, respect your fan base, man. You got to know these things. Yeah. You can't have an oversight that large. But again, they're going to fix it. We spent too much time on Sonic. I just had to bring it up because it was so upsetting.
I am curious, though, because you mentioned the kid aspect and the different audiences, and, obviously we're mad, but I want to know because you have young children. Have your children seen the trailer, and what did they think of it?
They haven't seen the trailer yet. I have a feeling. So just so you at home, my kids are 5 and 2, so I have one that would be gravitating towards this in a way that he would know who that is. But I'm sure he would have loved it based on just the character. But here's the thing: I wouldn't have taken him to see it. Okay, and you can call me selfish if you want. That's not my point is I'm going to take him to see Frozen, and films are expensive today.
That's also true.
So my point is, it's not that I don't want him to take. I'm trying to say this right. It's not that I don't want to take him to the movies to see Sonic, and I'm trying to ruin his childhood. There's other movies. I know Disney's going to do a better job. They're going to get my money.
Yeah.
And then I would have watched this version of it when it came on TV.
That's fair. That's fair. He could see it when it hits HBO or whatever or something like because that is something because I have a couple of other friends who have young children and they said their kids loved the trailer, which I thought was very, very interesting.
Yeah, if you're not invested in Sonic like you and I are, it looks funny as heck. But here's the thing,
right?
I'm the person you have to convince. All right, I'm the one spending the money.
That's very true.
All right,
that's very true.
And that I vote with my money. Okay, and the thing is, like I said, if my kids came running to me, Ray, I want to see Sonic. Of course, I'd take them to see it. That I can tell you right now, between Frozen 2 and that, they're gonna want to see Frozen.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Between any Disney film and that, they're going to want to see the Disney film. All right, so
I will say that maybe if Sonic was smart, maybe they delay this movie a couple of months
they
to
may.
keep working on Sonic.
Yeah, they may.
Coming out in November, coming out at the end of the year to go against Frozen and other movies. I don't think that's wise.
Well, here's the thing: they could use this as a really good PR campaign to turn the tide because now everyone's talking about it. Okay, like there's no such thing as bad publicity. They could totally come out with a really great looking Sonic. And then all of a sudden I have a totally I might go see it at that point, all right?
Yeah,
because
you earn a lot of goodwill that way.
Yeah, like I want to read it too. Sonic is a beloved. He's a Mario level character, all right? Like in terms of video games. I mean, like I loved Sonic growing up. That game changed a lot of things at the time. I mean, that was the first game that really rivaled Mario as like oh my god, look at these graphics.
Yeah, in terms of gameplay and whatnot. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, and great theme music too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Right. We should probably move on.
I know we should, but I just quick question building off of Sonic. Then, what do you think of Detective Pikachu that uses a similar animation?
Great question. That's a great question. Great point. It looks phenomenal. Okay, and here's why. Pikachu looks like Pikachu. The film clearly is making fun of itself.
Yep.
Okay, they got a very good actor to play Pikachu in Ryan Reynolds, so we kind of know what we're gonna get. Mm-hmm. All right, and the trailers are built in a way of like you're gonna enjoy this film.
Yeah.
Okay,
you're gonna have. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
That's a great example of someone who got it right. They didn't change how any of the Pokemon worked. They've kind of established right away in this world, Pokemon exists with humans, right? Yeah. And then they've also established clearly this is going to be really funny because Ryan Reynolds is really funny.
Yeah.
Right. And they didn't give too much away. And then the other thing too is the music in that trailer is all Pokemon music. I don't think. And then I Need a Hero, which was just well done. And the Sonic's like, hey, look, we brought back the original sound effects.
Yeah,
everything you love from the '90s. It just was. It could have been done a lot better. Is all I'm saying. So yeah.
Yes.
But Detective Pikachu, I knew that was Pikachu right away.
Right.
All right. And it's also again. I want to reiterate this. They said it. It's a world in which Pokemon live with human beings. In Sonic, it's clearly like you said. Where are we? Are we on Earth and we're going to go back to his planet? Like, what are we doing here?
I mean, which technically is in the continuity. It's a more recent storyline, but it definitely isn't a beloved storyline.
No, people don't know that storyline. Like unless you play the games, okay? And like I said, everyone knows Pikachu.
And I've had to play every Sonic game for work.
Oh, poor you.
So many. Well, I mean,
sorry.
Some of those games are really bad.
Listen,
Sonic and the Black Knight. Oh god,
okay, guys! This is what I'll tell you. Ray has an awesome job, but that does not mean awesome jobs don't come with things you don't want to do. Okay, and some of those in his past, he's had to play some really bad games, and he has to play them. You remember, you have the choice to turn it off.
Yes,
he doesn't.
You can vote with your dollars. I have no choice.
He has no choice. All right. So I'm going to transition to the sports topic here. We're not going to spend too much time on sports today. We said this was going to be a geek-heavy episode, but we do have to mention that in women's professional hockey, and women's hockey in general, there's some shockwaves that are being sent here. So quick backstory here, which you should know. Oh, yeah, let me tease the mashup, by the way. Today's mashup is going to be which Marvel Avenger is most likely to stand up against Avengers to go on strike or to force a lockout or to change the tide of how the Avengers are run. It's going to be a fun conversation, which will make more sense after we talk about women's professional hockey. So About 2 or 3 weeks ago, the CWHL, which is the Canadian Women's Hockey League, folded. It was a nonprofit model in Canada. It was one of 2 professional women's hockey leagues, and they folded, which put all the attention on the NWHL, the National Women's Hockey League, which is in the United States, which is a for-profit model. And it kind of put the entire women's professional model in shockwaves because nobody knew it was going to happen. And then yesterday, 200 professional women's hockey players, which is a substantial amount. Most of them Olympians, most of them from various countries, took a stand and said, we will not play in any professional league until we rethink the women's business model so that we can get a livable wage. And I want to be very clear on this because there's been a lot of criticism of they're not NHL players, they're never going to get NHL money. None of them have asked for that. None of them are saying they want to get NHL $4 billion contracts, $10 million, you know what I'm saying. All right, They are saying they want a livable wage so they continue to play professional hockey and that they can help grow the game. To give you an idea what some of these women make a year playing professional hockey, some of them get as low as $2,000 with no health insurance, okay? $2,000 a year, okay? Which means they all have to have other jobs. So there's a lot of arguments here about whether women's hockey can do this, and this is my argument, okay? It does need to grow. They have to be realistic about where it's at. But a lot of people say they don't have fans, nobody watches. This is not true at all. All right,
I know people who religiously follow the league.
Yeah, exactly. It does have a following. It does have a passionate fan base, and it is standing up for women everywhere in terms of like women's hockey. It is not the NHL. They've never tried to be the NHL. You know, these are just some of the arguments I just got to debunk. And I mean, I speak for myself. I support women's hockey heavily through this show and other businesses that I own. Okay. And my attitude is this: they have to work at it harder to create this league. That's on them and their fan base to kind of, like we said, vote with your dollars, show up, make sure you're supporting these teams.
Yeah.
But it's a very courageous and bold move for 200 plus athletes to come out and say, you know what, we're just not going to play until people figure this out. And I think that they're trying to force the hand of the NHL maybe to get a little more involved and to support them, which I don't know if it's going to work or not. And the NHL doesn't have to do that. I mean, you could say, it's the right thing to do, but it's a business, so they have to do what's best for the business.
Yeah, I mean, I think I read the NHL donates it gives the league $100,000 a year or something.
They do.
Not a lot, but it is a very little. They could probably add a zero to that or something.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: is the NHL's interest is in the NHL. Now, it's not technically. Follow me here. It's not the NHL's job to develop women's hockey. However, it does behoove the NHL to create more fans by supporting women's hockey. So
yes,
the investment they make is probably based off that logic. But I just wanted to say, because it's a courageous thing that the women would stand up like that. They could potentially put their league or their future. I mean, some of them might have just ended some of their own careers. But this is how things like this start. Somebody was saying, I have a forum online with We Live Hockey, and someone said that this will never work. People don't want to watch women and men and blah, blah, blah. I said, by that logic, the NHL, the NBA, MLB, and the NFL all would have folded in their first 3 years because they weren't profitable back then.
Yeah.
So, because that's the idea. It'll never be profitable. Most businesses are not profitable at the start.
Yeah.
Including every major professional. Go look up the history of the NFL. If you don't agree, go look up the NFL history and how it had to pretty much battle college for a decade before people took it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, and even Major League Baseball, right? A lot of those guys, when they started out back in the old days,
nothing.
They made minimum wage to play baseball. They didn't make the millions. I mean, yes, now 100 years later, you get these ridiculously bloated contracts of Manny Machado and Bryce Harper and Giancarlo Stanton, and to the point where it's okay, maybe you guys make too much money now.
Sure, but it started somewhere.
Yes.
Look, this is the same thing as when people use modern standards to justify something that happened 100 years ago, which I'm not going to get into. But it's you can't use today's standards and say, well, back in 1875. Yeah, things were different back then. It's called progress. So women's professional hockey is starting out at a place right now. It's a young organization. It's a young business, and they're trying to get what they want. I give them a lot of credit for that. Do not compare them with the NHL. Don't do it. That's not what they're trying to do. Okay? Yeah. They're just trying to make a way for themselves. I have a daughter. I love seeing things like this. I want my daughter to see things like this. You can do what you want to do. Things have changed. Okay? It is no benefit to anybody to be misogynistic about this. All right? It's not men's hockey. It's not the NHL. It's women's hockey. It's a different thing. It will never be as popular as the NHL, at least not in my lifetime. Okay? I believe that. All right, but that does not mean it doesn't have its place to grow and become its own thing.
No, they deserve their place. They deserve their own place to play hockey and to have fun and to like you said, live their dreams of making a wage doing something they love.
But
that is
earned, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the American dream to do what you love and to be able to survive doing it.
And I'll just follow up on that too, because the other argument is, well, they're not as good. It's not as fun to watch, and that's
not true at all.
True at all. Yeah,
like,
go to a game. First off, go to a game before you say that.
Yes,
well, you probably watch the Olympics. Like, give me a break. They are phenomenal. They are. I know plenty of women hockey players that are just as good as men. Okay, if not better.
Yeah, no, in terms of pure skill, in terms of stick handling and puck handling, they deserve to have their own league. I mean, and to be, but again, like you said, a key point of this is you got to support them.
Yeah,
right. If they're gonna make money, you got to go to the games. You got to buy jerseys. You got to spend money so that they can make money. Because if there's no money to be had, then that's the unfortunate truth.
You got to vote with your dollars.
Right.
You got to do it. You got to get out there and support the team. You can't just say that you're going to do it.
Because I do agree that it's not as much as it would behoove the NHL to help grow the game by supporting this. You're right that it isn't, especially right now. Hockey, I don't think, is in the place to support a women's hockey league financially until it gets on its own 2 feet.
Yeah, you don't need to point the finger at someone else of like it's the NHL's fault. That's incorrect. No. Okay, you need to look at yourself and what can I do to support this league. So we just wanted to spend a few minutes on that because I thought it was a pretty courageous move. And, with the 4 major American sports, we kind of talk about those every week. So this was just something that we wanted to bring up. But it does make us have to transition to our mashup, which is, I think, a funny topic. But we're just going to do Avengers? Or do you want to?
Yeah.
Let's just
do Avengers. We'll just do the Avengers, yeah.
Which Marvel Avenger or Avengers would be most likely to take a stand against the Avengers of we can do better, or we can do, I'm not going to avenge anymore until we get a workable living wage. No, until we can figure out something. I have an obvious choice, but I'm going to let you go first.
I mean, I think the obvious choice, we're probably on the same page here, is probably Captain America.
That's not who I was thinking, but I mean, he did take a stand. He actually
did.
That's what
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
He literally did that, with Civil War.
Yeah,
for me, the most obvious one would be Captain America, the guy who would fight for unions, the guy who would fight for equal wages, the guy who would fight for freedom would be Cap. So I think, that right off the bat, I think that's the guy who would go on strike.
And he literally did it. So the one I was thinking of, I always go a little more of a comedic route. But I'm thinking, after watching Endgame, I'd be pretty pissed off if I was Ant-Man. I brought you the solution, and you made fun of me twice.
You ruined my tacos.
I turned into Giant Man at the end to bring you the Hulk, Rocket, and War Machine, and I never got thanked for it. What's up with that?
They ruined his tacos.
He comes by with the taco just blown out of his hand. They just make fun of him the whole. If I'm Ant-Man after that film, I'm like, hey guys, what the F?
Yeah.
I helped you discover time travel.
Yeah.
Time travel. Let's look at the severity of things in the Marvel universe that allow you to do stuff like that. Let's see. There's time travel. That's it.
Yeah.
So if I'm him, I'm gonna say, you know what? I think all Avengers need to be treated equally because this was a big deal.
Yeah.
All right. No, listen. Valkyrie brought a Pegasus to a stone fight.
Yeah.
These are the ridiculous things we get to think about. I love it.
Oh, something we didn't mention real quick, by the way, in our Avengers talk. Korg playing Fortnite. Korg and Meek playing Fortnite. Yeah. I love that. Anyway, sorry. Okay.
No. That was brilliant. I love that we got to see him again.
Yes.
He's brilliant.
Yes.
I was hoping that would happen.
I hope we get
Well, he tried to make an uprising. You can totally swing this in this. Remember that?
Yeah.
He tried to make an uprising, but he didn't bring enough pamphlets because Rock, doesn't.
Yeah.
If you guys didn't see Ragnarok, he gives a complete metaphor for rock, paper, scissors.
Yes, it's amazing.
Could you guys clean up the weapons, please?
Oh, God. Him and Meek need a spin-off show.
Oh, I have a
Disney
feeling
Plus.
we'll see them again too. Yeah, dude, I love Korg and Meek. They were great, and it's going to be very interesting to see what Thor does with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Anyway, some of the other kind of halfway in the mashup happened, but Marvel actually did a really good job of supporting the women superheroes in this film. With pushing them out, I could see Pepper Potts doing something like that. I mean,
yes, crossing the line.
Yeah. I don't know if we're going to see her again. That was kind of a excuse me. That was kind of an interesting character arc where she has an. Well, I mean that was Relief, right? Is that her name? Not Relief. Rescue.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean that's assuming that was character that is she's Rescue. Which so for those of you who don't read that comic in depth, Rescue is Pepper Potts' Iron Man suit. Essentially, that's her superhero name is Rescue. Interesting, Ray. Interesting, but I think Ant-Man would be. If I was Ant-Man, I'd be a little angry after that episode, after that movie. Just brought you time travel.
Yeah.
All you did was make fun of me.
I could see Peggy striking too.
Peggy Carter.
Yeah.
Well, not after she found Captain America again. Now she's got to be quiet. Did they have kids? So going back to the Avengers, did they have kids? Because in the show, she has a husband, unnamed, and children, right?
Well, didn't she? What was it? Didn't she have Sharon Carter?
There's something there that they could easily make that Steve Rogers kids, and if they wanted to, and they could totally play it off as like, oh yeah, I just lied about my husband. It was an actor or something like that. You know what I mean? So I'm interested to see. That's one of those storylines. They don't ever have to go back to it, but they may.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
It'd be funny to go back in time and catch Steve back in time. What are you doing here? I'm a man out of time. Yeah. That was another great scene where Captain America fought Captain America, by the way.
Yes.
I love that. That was a really funny scene. I can do this all day. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That was great.
And that is America's ass.
Yeah, that was great. Well, just the fact that he cursed in this film and like he didn't a few films back. I mean, it just shows the evolution of the character. Yeah. I love that language. And then now he just, and again, we're not going to believe this, but he meets Captain America. You got to be shitting me. I just love it. It was just brilliant. Anyway, that was a fun episode. I'm glad we did this. Again, it was mostly Avengers talk, but let's be honest at home. You wanted to hear this.
Yes. Yeah. This is what it's all about. This is what the geek world is still revolving around, at least for the time being. But yeah, so you know, and we were able. We stuck the land just like Avengers. We kind of stuck the landing, Lee. We were coming in at we're under an hour still.
Yeah.
Barely.
Yeah,
barely.
No, I have a feeling the show. If you're still listening, make sure you let us know that you like the episode.
Yeah. All right, so let's make sure we keep this under 60. We're gonna wrap it up now, Lee. Any closing thoughts, or are you good?
No, just remember you can always email us at geekswholikesports@gmail.com. We obviously on our personal Facebook pages have been putting out content, but let us know what you think of the show. Thank you so much for listening. We do know we have some loyal listeners out there because they tell me about it. And I don't know what next week's topics are going to be yet, which is pretty exciting. There's a lot going on. There's always something going on in the geek sport world.
Yes, no, exactly. So again, thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe, 5-star ratings on iTunes, or subscribe on SoundCloud. We are on both those places.
Tell your friends.
Please spread the word, share it, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, do all that fun stuff. But for Lee, I'm Ray. Thanks for listening. This has been Geeks Who Like Sports.
Cue the music.